Seize the moment, because tomorrow you might be dead.
This person was an asshole of the highest order who hated children and everything to do with them, and we had to sit there and pretend that we liked them.
Somebody that I think is the weirdest person in the room. That's the person I'm going to have a conversation with. Why is it that we only contemplate people's lives after they're dead? I'm Izzy.
And I'm Garcia.
And welcome to Informally Informed. Okay, so we went to a funeral yesterday.
We did.
I first of all, I just want to comment that what's it called? The registrar, the person that gives the funeral.
I think registrars are only for weddings. Are they just officiants?
The officiant gave this speech at the beginning about what Sarah was like. Horse and cart Sarah, we used to call her horse and cart Sarah.
Sarah the Luddite.
Yes. What she was like as a person. And they're all the traditional adjectives that you always hear at funerals, right? Strong, independent,
Adventurous.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
But for Sarah, she wasn't.
Actually was those things. It would be like if one of us died. Like, when they were reading the eulogy, I was like, this woman has led such a fascinating life.
Yeah. And yeah, but I often wonder how many funerals people go to where they're saying all these wonderful things and none of it's true. But with Sarah, it was.
It was actually
true.
But can I just say that I have been to funerals wherein they're like, oh yeah, this person was a wonderful person who gave back to the community. I remember a close family friend died, and when they gave the eulogy, they were going on about what a lovely person this person was. This person was an asshole of the highest order who hated children and everything to do with them, and we had to sit there and pretend that we liked them. Spoiler alert, didn't actually like them. Was a miser in life.
But fair. But it got me thinking, because I feel like in today's society we sort of have to wait for somebody to die before we actually take the time to sit and contemplate their life. Like me and you, we're around death all the time, right? People die in the hospital, obviously. I do bank shifts in a mortuary, surrounded by dead people. It is what it is.
And I have to hear the stories. I'm also surrounded by dead people. And also I'm friends with Izzy, and she's dead inside, so...
I mean, there's that as well. But I think it's different when it's someone close to you. And I think there are definite lessons to be learned from individuals and from the lives that they lead. And because everybody, I think, even the boring people, even the arseholes, there's lessons to be learned from everybody, right? And I think, first of all, it teaches you to actually appreciate the living. And this is funerals more generally. It teaches you to appreciate the living. It teaches you to understand that life is short. Seize the moment, because tomorrow you might be dead, right? And
what a delightful way to put it. It's true.
And I think it also stresses the fact that I watched this on a Diversity episode, this Secret Servant woman. Secret Service.
It was like, she's a secret servant.
Secret Service woman. And she said that everybody just sort of assumes how other people, that other people know how they feel about them. And that's not always the case, right? You know, Bob next door's a stand-up bloke. He knows that I know that. Does he? Does he really? Have you ever taken the time to actually tell Bob that he's a stand-up bloke?
I actually agree with this, because if you recall, I said to you a few weeks ago, when we were at your dad's house, and I was saying how much I really enjoyed the weekend and how much I enjoyed it with friends. Yeah. And I do this to people all the time. So when I'm thinking about someone, I'll message them, I'm thinking of you. And it's because of that, because I've been surrounded by so much death. I've come to that realization, exactly what you're saying. Like, I've got to let them know while I'm alive. So even though it comes across a bit corny sometimes, it's true.
And I think, I mean, before I got the text to say that she passed away, I would think about Horse and Cart Sarah fairly often, just because of the way that she was.
I only thought of her whenever somebody didn't know how to use a computer. I know that's a silly thing, but that's like, because I only met her a few times, but every single time I met her, that was the one thing that she kept going on about.
I remember having a conversation with Sarah about, we were talking about relationships and, you know, various situations that had happened in both of our lives. And my Sarah impression's not fantastic, but she was like, I am fiercely, fiercely independent.
Yeah.
Right? And that sort of thing just sort of like stuck with me. So whenever there was anything where if I was going to a new event for the first time and I didn't know anybody that was going, or I was trying to figure out how I'm going to get there, it's things like that where you think, oh God, I've got to do that, I've got to figure out that. Every time one of those situations came into my, you know, little anxiety things that it happens to everybody, but nobody really vocalizes, like, oh my God, I need to be at the airport at this time, therefore what time do I have to leave? Things like that. I would always be dragged back to this conversation, and I'd be sat there in the reception room upstairs in the Britain's Protection in Manchester, and Sarah would be sat in front of me and she'd be going, I am fiercely, fiercely independent. And a lot of people don't know how to take that because they're so shocked at how completely and utterly self-confident I am. Right? And it always reminds me of that moment. And the minute I think of that, I'm like, right, well, I need to be there at that time. It's going to take me this amount of time. Therefore, I'm going to leave there. Boom, done. Happy days. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I agree. So, in a,
But
not,
sorry, just to add.
Oh, go on.
But she would have no idea that one conversation that she'd probably completely forgotten about had
such
a massive impact, and I didn't even know that had such a massive impact because people think about things like that all the time. It was just became force of habit of, you know, the courage to, if Sarah can be so fiercely independent, like, you know, even though I am independent.
There is something that has always stuck with me. Someone that was close to you that passed away said to me when I was training to be a nurse.
So about my mum.
Yeah, I am talking about your mum. Do you remember? Do you remember us having like a real in-depth conversation about like life stuff and nursing? Do you remember that day? Well,
Yes.
I remember that day like it happened yesterday, because I was on the brink, if you remember, of giving up, because I was working full time, I was at uni full time, I was in a relationship that was also full time, and then I was also trying to maintain my friendships, and I was saying that I was finding life hard and that I didn't want to be a nurse anymore. If you remember, I went for like a year of not wanting to be a nurse anymore. And in that moment, in that time, your mum said to me, are you doing it because you want a career, or are you doing it to help people? Because if you're doing it because you want a career, then this is not the career for you. But if you're doing it because you genuinely want to help people, then you need to not give up. I know it's such a small thing. It was like I was moaning about things. She was listening. She was telling me about her time as a nurse. And I don't know why that stuck with me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was such an insignificant, like, at the time, moment. But it stuck with me because I was in a hard place. And I didn't feel like anyone understood what I was going through. And it's not that I actually felt like she understood what I was going through or anything like that. But it was like a moment of clarity of, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just stuck with me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It really stuck with me. And so I agree, like, it's better to remember these things, or those impactful moments of people that have passed. I mean, the people that have passed in my life are very important to me, but we'll get to that point, y'all.
But yeah, so it's sort of, it's like this, again, bringing it back to Sarah, it's this almost like this courage of authenticity, because everybody's got pills of wisdom. Every person has got pills of wisdom. And Sarah was really one of those people that just led life exactly how she wanted to live it. And I remember at the debate group, I remember walking back from the debate one day. Sarah had gone home and somebody else was complaining, oh, I can't believe that she said this and rah, 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 rah. And then I was trying my best to like defend her honour, if you want to call it that. And then as he left and I was with my other friend, I turned to him and I said, look, it really annoys me when people slag off Sarah. More so than it would probably annoy me if they slagged off you or if they slagged on anybody else, because she's just so... I don't know if innocent's the right word, but so authentic. And yeah, so innocent. Clearly she's got an incredibly positive energy. And those are and now every time that happens, I think of Sarah. So I was on the phone with somebody the other day, and we were talking about somebody in work that a couple of people slag off because she's a little bit odd. But she's lovely. And I said to him, I said, it would annoy me more if somebody slagged off her than it would if somebody slagged off you, even though I'm friends with you. And the reason for that is because of the way that she is. She's just the loveliest person. And the reason why she's so odd is because she is so authentic.
Yeah. And if I find that if people don't fit your mold or what you expect people to be, then it's an issue. People don't know how to take you.
And you know what, like, this is something that somebody said to me a while back. There's something else that stuck with me. He's still alive. If I walk into a room and I look around the room and I see somebody that I think is the weirdest person in the room, that's the person I go to have a conversation with. I want to be with the weirdest person in the room, the strangest person in the room, because I know that they're going to say something that I've not thought about.
As the strange person in the room most of the time. I completely agree. Because the strange person in the room is watching. They're seeing. I was talking about this to Ollie yesterday at the funeral. Being able to be yourself, no matter what, is it's very difficult for other people when they themselves have to mask in society.
Yeah.
A few months ago, do you remember I was super depressed and I had a bit of a breakdown at you in the garden? And I was saying how hard it must be, because I was saying that I was stressed out because I find it hard to pretend in public. And how hard it must be for other people because they have to pretend all the time. Do you remember this conversation? They have to pretend all the time. Are they wearing a mask all the time? Like, nobody's that friendly. No one. Nobody's that, like, I don't know, but Sarah never struck me as that kind of pretense kind of person. It was always, this is what you get, deal with it.
I remember this one time. Like, I walked into the debate booth, I think it was like a Sunday debate or something, and she came straight up to me and she went, ha, ha. And I was like, what? And she was like, I've noticed an inconsistency in something you said to me the other day. And she'd obviously gone away and thought about it, because she came back to me with we'd had a similar sort of conversation on two separate occasions. And in the first conversation I'd said one thing, and the other conversation I'd said the other thing. And to the untrained eye, it might come across as contradictory, but it wasn't. I mean, I think so. Obviously, Sarah disagreed with me. But first thing she said to me, she went, ha, ha, you said this and then you said this, so you're wrong. Which is it? And then I sort of explained, well, actually, I said this and then I said this and that meant this. And she was like, oh, right, okay. But she wasn't afraid to just be like, you're wrong. She would just say it straight out. But there was an endearing quality about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, and this is the sad bit for me, it's like sometimes you need that loss in order to appreciate that individual. Because that's really, with funerals are really the only time where you sit there and reflect upon somebody's life or what somebody meant. And I'm not suggesting that, every time you have a good conversation with your friend, you go sit there and have a 2-minute silence.
But I disagree with that to an extent, because I'd say that it's cultural. I really do think that. Funerals, like, obviously in Muslim cultures, funerals happen the next day, so there's no time to reflect about their life, like, not a funeral. But in my culture, you have what's called a night, which is a party, a celebration of someone's life. So that's before the funeral. So when I
but
say
this is all after they died.
It is no. I get that, but I'm leading to a point, which is like a celebration, but that is after they die, like you just said. we also have, I guess it's how you respect your elders. But then I guess we only do that for the elderly. We don't do that for like regular like people. Do you know what I mean? So if I drop dead tomorrow, who'd have been appreciating my life?
I remember when Sean died.
I remember when Sean. Oh my god.
And Gary.
I remember when Sean died.
He said to me that him and Sean hadn't been.
Gary Glitter.
No, not Gary Glitter.
I know it's Gary talking about.
Gary, he said to me that they hadn't been hanging out as regularly in the couple of years leading up to his death. Now, Gary and Sean have known each other for years. And he said to me, but if you can't take time to appreciate them when they're healthy, do you not think it's a bit hypocritical to make more of an effort when they're not?
I don't think it is hypocritical because everybody's got their own lives to lead. And unfortunately, you get caught up in your life. It's just it's a function of being alive and making it in society. You get caught up. But that doesn't mean that friendships wane. That doesn't mean.
Oh no, he wasn't saying the friendship had waned. You know, loads of people.
No, but I mean, like, the love doesn't go.
No.
The respect doesn't go. The appreciation for them doesn't go. You might just not see it in the same way until they're not here because you expect them to see it. It's like, I expect to see you. That's why we call it the shock of death. Because there's been a rise in sudden adult death over the last 5 years. I don't have the stats, but there has been a massive rise in it. This is just from the stress of society. Any one of us could just drop dead tomorrow. I would die knowing that my life is appreciated, even though you've not specifically said it, because you show up in it. So I think it also is how you look at things. How do you show someone that you appreciate them? Like, how? That's a genuine question. How do you show someone? Like, in life.
By doing things.
Yeah, but then does that not then become transactional? So how do you show them that you appreciate them?
Take them a box of grapes when they're in hospital. You know, little stuff.
It's the little things that make the big things.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I show you I appreciate you. I don't know how, but I think I do.
You got me some cream eggs for Easter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
And you got me some earrings for my birthday.
I get you cream eggs every year. Every year I buy a box of 5. Every year. It's actually on my list of.
But every time we stop off in the shop,
you ask me if I want something.
Yeah. Well, quite often I'll just see a couple of bars of chocolates and just get you one without even asking.
Yeah, oh, it's usually sweets, to be fair.
It's normally sweets, yeah.
So, but I know these things, so I would never look to you and say, Izzy doesn't appreciate me. That's some bullshit right there. And I think it's that with, like, when people die. Like, we try to remember the good parts. We always seem to leave the bad side to the wayside, which I also think is problematic.
I think I don't agree.
Okay.
Because it's like you said, when you went to that funeral of this person that was an asshole, everybody sat there and had to pretend that they liked her.
God, I hate it. That's
not the same thing as forgetting about the bad.
Mm.
People know what kind of person somebody was like. People might be sat there at the funeral going, well, this is a load of bollocks. But that in itself is proof that people don't forget the bad. The bad isn't left by the wayside. Just because they're not voicing it. There's respect and all that. Somebody's died. But with Sarah, I genuinely didn't have a negative word to say about that woman.
No one did. Not even in a whisper. No one did. And it's a beautiful thing.
You know what I have a lot of nicknames for people I meet at various things.
Because everybody's got the same names.
And I've managed to spread my nicknames around to the point where everybody else calls other people my name. And we were having a conversation about these nicknames. And it all stemmed from, we were talking about climate change at a meeting. And somebody made the comment saying, oh, what do you want us to do? Go back to the days of the horse and cart and switch off all the electricity. Sarah put her hand up and stood up and went, well, I think we should go back to the days of the horse and cart. And then sort of explained that, not literally, but cutting down on electricity spending and all that sort of thing. And later, I think it was like the month after, we were having a conversation about nicknames, and because I kept taking the mick out of Sarah for it, and she said, "Oh well, if this person's called, this nickname, and this person's this nickname, it's like things like 9/11 Steve." And Social Simon and all that kind of thing. And she was like, does that mean that I'm horse and cart Sarah? And I was like, yes, it does. So I texted the group when I was sending the text message around saying, "Oh, for those of you who aren't aware, horse and cart Sarah has passed away." Everybody automatically knew who I was talking about.
What's your nickname for me?
Garcia the Annoyance.
You're lying.
And I have a nickname.
Because my name's Garcia. That's fair.
Yeah, I have a nickname for me, because my name's Izzy.
I also don't have a nickname for you, but I've got nicknames for everybody else. That's so interesting. But yeah, it's. I think it's an interesting thing to remember people and to remember their lives and to realise that they've led a full life. Well, when they've led a full life.
People don't just cease to exist the minute they step out of the same room as you.
She had children. Her legacy lives on. She had grandchild. I don't know if it's grandchildren. They mentioned one. So grandchild. She had a grandchild. Do you know what I mean? She had like an entire life. I won't go into too much detail, but she's led a very adventurous life all over the globe. And she walked everywhere. No matter where she was.
She walked every single street in Paris.
Yeah.
That's an achievement.
It is. And I just think...
And it's little things like that where you go, that's really cool, or I should do something like that. That's inspiration. It's like innovation. It's motivation. It's you seeing somebody do something or throwaway comment that Sarah made would make you stop and go, maybe I could do something like that.
Do you know what?
And it's the little moments that you don't even realise are there that can have significant impact on the way you lead your life from that point onwards.
Do you know what? I was on the phone last night talking about various different things, how my day went, the funeral, etc. And it got me thinking, because obviously I couldn't sleep last night following the funeral, because whenever there's funerals and stuff like that, it gets you thinking about your own mortality. And unfortunately, I was doing that last night. So I was thinking about all the things that I actually enjoy and the people that I enjoy in my life. And then I was thinking about all the things that I actually do, because I listened to the eulogy and they were talking about Sarah's travels and all of those things. And I was sat there thinking, do you know what? I travel a lot. And I remember like a month or two ago, I don't remember where we went or what we were doing. And I said to you, where are we going for holiday this year? Like my me and you trip. Because I was like, I was like, that is actually something. It's something. It really is. It might be insignificant, but it's going on a trip with my best friend to go make memories. And I say this all the time. I am more of an experience-driven person than I am anything else.
Yeah, me too. And you'll have definitely heard me say this before, but one of the quotes I often quote, I guess.
Not Harry Potter 1.
It's not Harry Potter 1.
Oh.
Is...
Shock horror.
is... when people are on their deathbed, they never regret the things they do. They always regret the things that they don't do.
I say this as well. Oh, yeah, because it's true. I've never seen anyone in palliative care regret going on holiday. I've never seen anyone in palliative care... Well, actually, I've seen people in palliative care regret having children. But not regretting letting their legacy live on, if that's the way that you view legacy. Because, to quote Hamilton... who lives, who dies. Basically, I don't remember the quote. It's you don't tell.
Well, that was an anti-climax.
Yeah. It's you don't tell your legacy. You don't tell
your legacy tells you.
No, you don't tell your story. You don't. The people that remember you do. So make sure that you have a story to tell.
It's deep, man.
Well, that wasn't the quote, but that was what I got from it.
And on that,
I am deep, like the ocean. Unlike you, probably deep. Not even that. Surface.
Anyway. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. And yeah.
Yeah. In remembrance of Sarah.
In remembrance of Sarah.
Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our views. That's the point of the conversation. Join in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.